Okay, so in this tutorial we're going to have a look at the decks and Traktor and the different deck modes you can use. We're using for this tutorial the 2-deck internal mode, which means that we're using 2 decks and all the mixing is being done internally using the software or using your mouse here to control the faders and the EQs. This is typically the kind of mode that you would use if you're using an external MIDI controller. You can use an external MIDI controller to control your faders and your EQs and that kind of thing. But we're just going to be using the mouse for this tutorial. So external mixer mode, you'll notice the mixing controls have disappeared there. That's because we're sending the audio to an external mixer, and what happens is we using our sound card, we send deck A to one channel on our external mixer and deck B to a second channel, and we just use the external mixer's EQ controls and faders to control the output. Then you have then 4-deck internal mixer mode, which is the same as 2-deck except we have more decks. You'll notice that the decks have got smaller. That's because they're in mini mode. You can expand those decks, either of them, by clicking on that top row again, so it's worth remembering that. We also have 4-deck external mode as well, which again, that will send up to 4 decks to 4 independent channels on your mixer, so giving you even greater control. But as I said, for this tutorial we are going to use the 2-deck control. So the first thing I'm going to do is load up some tracks here. Let me see. Okay, so one way of doing it, which is probably the quickest and easiest way, is using control and either right or left click on your arrow keys. So I'm going to left click on that one. But the other way you can do it is by dragging and dropping into your chosen deck. Now, looking at the decks themselves, here we have the deck heading. This is where any information that we have stored in the metadata of this track, this will appear in the deck heading. So in this case we have track name at the top, artist in the middle row, record label in the bottom row, plus we have the track time, again record label there, but we can customize that to whatever we want. The current BPM of the track, so this changes depending on where the pitch control is, which is here on the right hand side. If we want to reset the pitch to 0, you double click on the fader. The percentage beneath that is your plus or minus percentage that you are away from 0 on your pitch shift. The other BPM here at the bottom is the original BPM of the track as well. Now these fields can all be customized to display whatever information that you want. So to do this, we go into preferences, we go to deck details, and this part here, deck heading. This is a really cool feature because you can change the information that's displayed in the top row, the middle row, or the bottom row by choosing from these drop downs if you want the beats or the gain or the BPM, whatever information you want. You'll see here we'll change this deck here. See. So you'll see there the gain control has appeared on the right hand deck there. I generally stick to title because if I'm working in 4-deck mode where I have the mini decks set up, it only displays the top row of the deck heading, so you really need to be seeing the title of the track as opposed to any other information in there. So we're going to expand those decks again by clicking on that top row. The next thing we want to look at is the waveform display and the stripe views, which give us a visual representation of the tracks that we've loaded. The stripe view, which is the one at the bottom, this will only appear once Traktor has analyzed your music. So if you load up a track and it's not there, that just means that Traktor is currently analyzing it, so it'll appear in a couple of seconds. When Traktor analyzes it, it means it's detected the BPM and it's set the first beat marker, and it's going to work with the decks. The next time you load it in, it'll load up instantly. The other view we have here is the waveform display. Again, this gives us another visual representation of the track. It gives us a complete overview with light areas in the waveform representing high frequency sounds, and then sort of darker, thicker areas in the waveform representing the likes of your kick. We have it set up here so you can zoom in or out on your waveform using these buttons here. I prefer to use the zoomed in mode so I can see exactly where the kicks are going to be in my track. Okay, so the stripe view then beneath this again, it provides another overview of the entire track, and it'll show us where any stored cue points or hot cues and loops are saved in the track. And you can click through this. Now it's best to have sort of quantize mode selected for this so that when we click through it, it'll land on the beat. So you can really go in and find whatever point in the track that you want to find. The stripe view will also flash whenever the track end warning time has been reached. So I think in this case it's about 30 seconds. So you'll see it's flashing there. That means that there's 30 seconds left to go in the track. Now you can change that. If 30 seconds is not enough for you, you can go into preferences again, go into global view options, and you will see here track end warning. You can put it up to 2 minutes or all the way down to 30 seconds again. So that's another really handy option there, just to make sure that you don't run out of time when you're DJing. On the left hand side then of the stripe, this button here is for bringing playback back to the very start. So you just click that. No matter where you are on the track, it'll jump right back to the very start. On the right hand side here we have our key lock button as well. So this is if you are DJing and you want all your music to stay in the same key, even though you've changed the pitch of it, you want it to play in the original key. You click on this button and it will play in its native key there as well. Okay, this here as well is our pitch control. This again can be modified by going into the preferences. Why would you want to modify it? Well, you can have a pitch range of up to 100%, which is quite a lot. I tend to use the plus or minus 8% mode because it most closely resembles the kind of pitch range that you would have on a conventional turntable. So to do that, we go into transport, and you can see here we have different pitch ranges. We click on 8%. That's the one I like to use, and hit OK then. Okay, a couple more things. We have 3 different input modes on Traktor, which can be accessed using this little arrow here underneath the deck. The first one is internal playback. That's the mode that we're currently using now. So all the playback is done internally using the software. But you have other modes here which are worth looking at. This one is called audio through. Now what this does, this means that effectively I can use one of my decks to plug in an external source, an external audio source, whether that's a CD player, whether it's a microphone, that kind of thing, which is really cool when you consider that you've got 4 decks here. You could essentially have 3 decks playing tracks and then a 4th deck with something else coming through. You'll notice that your transport controls will be made redundant because you can't use them in this mode, but you will be able to use your EQs, your filters, and any effects. So if you wanted to stick a microphone in and put some effects on your voice, you could do that using your sound card and using audio through. The third mode then is scratch control. This is for people who are using Traktor Scratch. They will typically use this mode. You'll notice that the transport controls here have changed to relative and absolute buttons. So if you ever load up Traktor and you see these strange buttons here and you're wondering why have I not seen these before, look in here under this arrow to find the mode that you want. So we're going to go back to internal playback mode for this tutorial. So that's essentially a look at the decks, a quick look at the decks. In the next video we're going to look at the transport controls, which are the main buttons for playback using Traktor's internal playback mode.